Hi there guys, welcome to this week's session. I've got the workout pause for a second, so just take a moment. I'm just going to cover a couple of quick little things before we get started. So the first thing is we've got sprint sets today, so that means two things. Firstly, I've chosen the easy hill climb lap, so I want a little bit of a steady climb to do these sprints on, so that I have a bit of extra resistance under the trainer, because erg mode is going to be off the sprint still, so we want to hit some peak powers. So I picked an easy kind of short hill climb lap on Training Peaks Virtual, and then, as I say, erg mode is going to be off, and we're looking for some peak power. So we've got 20-second sprints this week. So before you start the session, make sure you're having a look on Training Peaks, Strava, intervals, Golden Cheetah, that was the one I was searching for. So have a look on those, check out your all-time best 20-second power, your 90-day, your best for the last 90 days, your best for the last 30 days, so that you've got those kind of staggered targets you're trying to aim for in at least the first couple of 20-second sprints. Okay, so make sure you do that before the session, so because as I said a few times, the targets we set are relatively arbitrary, because unfortunately we don't quite yet have the sort of technology to be able to set super personalised targets. Yeah, hopefully at some point that very basic functionality will become available. So yeah, okay, so that's that one. The other thing is, because we're doing sprints, one of the things you might find is that the trainer moves around quite a lot. So what you can't see, but what I've actually anchored my down with a couple of kettlebells, so that it doesn't shift when I'm sprinting. Yeah, so that's pretty much all the kind of prelim. So we're going to get going when the timer at the top says 13 minutes, so in about 35 seconds. So pause, get yourself ready, make sure you've got the fluids, etc, etc. Let's get ready to go. Okay. So 20 seconds, and then I'm going to start the workout. Okay. Ready to go in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Off we go then. Okay, so I've got erg mode completely off now already. I've just no interest in erg mode at the moment, which I will talk about in a second in today's chat. But if you want erg mode on for the start, then absolutely fair enough, fine, no problem. Sometimes it's nice to start the workout just a bit mindlessly, just to help you wake up a little bit. But we will be turning it off after the initial ramp, so I'll just run through the session. So we've got the normal 10-minute build, then we've got a more aggressive ramp at the end of that, going up to a little 10-second nudge. Not quite full effort sprint, like 80% of max sprint. Then some cruising time before we do some other kind of little bursts to wake up the legs. Then some more cruising time, and then we get into it. So today's session is all about the sprints. 20-second efforts with 5 minutes of recovery in between. So the purpose of this session isn't about kind of stamina, repeatability, anaerobic repeatability, fatigue resistance. It's about good quality, max effort reps. It's a little bit like max repping in the squat rack or something. Tons of recovery in between, so that each rep is high quality. That's what we're looking for. We're just looking to provoke some hypertrophy in the muscles to try and lift that top end power. Okay, we're not necessarily looking for kind of challenge your ability to recover. Like 5 minutes between sprints is tons. So should be quite a nice session in that respect. I really like sessions like this, particularly at the moment. So yeah, that's what we've got in the plan. So we've got a nice long warm up. So we're warming up for the best part of what is that? nearly 20 minutes, 19 minutes basically. No, more than 19 minutes. So it's about 22 minutes of warm up. And that is an essential part of any kind of super duper sprint set. You've got to be super warm to get out your best. So yeah, plenty of time to talk basically. So I'll get stuck into it. Basically today I'm going to be talking about adapting your training or kind of your lifestyle really to sleep deprivation. It's obviously very personal to me right now, and I just think that kind of my experience at the moment, a few things I've learned, a few things I've tried, which might be helpful to you guys. Obviously not necessarily in a newborn scenario, but just like any scenario where you're sleep deprived or an analogous scenario where maybe work is just insane and you're just really struggling for time. I'm going to talk you through kind of a few of the things that I'm doing at the moment, and let's not screw around here. Do not interpret what I'm about to say as me suggesting that I've got it all nailed and this newborn stuff is easy. I am knackered. But I am pretty pleased with how I'm managing it, to be honest. You always expect the worst, and yeah, I'm just really pleased with kind of the things that I've tried seem to have worked. So I've managed to maintain some semblance of not consistency, because I'm not really training for anything at the moment. It's about surviving. It's about just keeping me moving. I'm very much knackered, but as I say, I've discovered some methods that just help me keep up the exercise. Basically, that's all I'm about at the moment. Just a bit of exercise, so that I don't hate myself too much. So let me just run through kind of the highlights, the things that I've kind of really focused on in order to manage things well. The first thing is I've been focusing on weights. I do 4 weight sessions at the moment. 4 sessions kind of in a week, but I'll explain what I mean by that vague explanation in a second. And that's simply because for me it's so easy. I just come in the garage here, got everything I need, don't need to change because it's not in a gym. I just come in here, sometimes in my pajamas, and just start doing some weights. I also enjoy weights. I've always enjoyed strength training, grew up playing rugby, etc. It's always been something I've enjoyed. And kind of selfishly, there's also a little bit of time away from me at the moment. I can put the headphones on, it's quiet over here. Charlotte can obviously reach me very easily if she needs to, but generally speaking, don't get bothered. So yeah, the other thing is with the weights, because I'm doing kind of max strength focused weights at the moment, my heart rate doesn't get that high. In 3 minutes of recovery in between. It's a lot like this session basically. Big long recovery period. So it all just feels very manageable. You just got a sort of 60 seconds to 2 minutes where I'm actually doing weights, and the rest of the time just chilling out, which is really nice. As I say, I'm doing 4 sessions a week, and I'm not necessarily suggesting that when you go through a period of sleep deprivation or really crazy work or just crazy life sort of scenarios. I'm not saying do weights. I think if you have the ease with which I have, or something similar, then go for it. But my point I'm trying to make is that whatever it is, pick something that is super easy for you to do and zero fat. So you could be going for an easy run, could be jumping on a turbo, you could just be going for a walk, just whatever the scenario is, but easier for you. Just pick something that is super easy, and it doesn't necessarily have to align perfectly with your objectives. So if you're training for an event or a season, we all go through periods of craziness. Sometimes your short-term objective has to shift to survival and just looking after yourself, your mental health, and that's absolutely fine. Week, 2 weeks, and even a month. Sometimes this stuff, it doesn't scratch the surface really in terms of kind of affecting the ultimate goal. So just find whatever it is that keeps you moving, you enjoy, you find it easy to motivate yourself for, and just focus on that. You know, my goal isn't to get stacked, it's just, I do want to build some muscle mass, but the goal really is to keep me moving and just keep my mental health in check. So that's the first thing, just that really simple focus. The next thing is I'm keeping all my sessions under an hour. Some of my runs and rides have just been 30 minutes. And that just makes it all feel very achievable, so it doesn't stress me out. So I've got no long rides. You know, if I'm out and, you know, everything's good at home and, you know, Charles gives me the go ahead, I might stay out for another half an hour. But yeah, it's just keeping it all manageable, and you know, I want to be at home as much as possible at the moment. So it all feels very achievable, and it just means I can fit it all in easily. You know, within that, I'm not running outdoors much at the moment, just simply because of the need to clean my bike. Just can't be asked for that. Don't have the time for it. So yeah, jumping on the turbo. I'm running inside. We've got a treadmill, as you know. So running on that a fair bit. All of it is just stripping away the fat, basically, and making it very manageable in my mind. So as I say, 30 minutes. You can still have a really nice session in that. You know, particularly if it's running. You know, that's a nice 5k run. That's super straightforward and very manageable, and you feel like, you know, you're getting something done. Next point is very little intensity. So this is my only high intensity session in my week, and you know, 'cause my purpose at the moment isn't to progress. You know, I've got to be realistic. I am not going to progress at all over the next few months, but I want to keep moving. I want to keep my baseline at a decent enough level so I can build off it, rather than having to start from scratch. I just feel like I'm doing something. So, really, if I didn't have to do this session, I would still probably just do one high intensity session a week. I would shorten it though. I'd probably keep it to 30 or 45 minutes with a very long warm up. So it wouldn't be that many reps. You know, it'd probably be like, you know, 20 to 30 minutes warming up, and then just like 5 or 6 reps. You know, just sort of, it's a few nudges basically. So yeah, so it's coming up to the end of the 10-minute build. I'm just about to start the ramp set, so I'm just going to pause there on chat. We've got tons of time to talk, and there's a few points that I want to be quite clear on. So I'm just going to pause there, and let's just focus on the workout. So we're building up through the zones. So at the moment, we're just zone 2, 65% of FTP. Then we're going to go up to sweet spot. Then about 110% of FTP. Then a 10-second nudge, about 20% of FTP. I've got erg mode off. I'm just going to basically build and then accelerate a little bit. Okay, nice and relaxed, remember. Chin up, shoulders down. Another 8 seconds. And then we're just going to lift the effort a little bit. So, here we go. Up to a 9 out of 10 effort. Sorry, a 7 out of 10 effort. Up to sweet spot. Just below threshold. Try and keep cadence upwards of 85. Over 90 if you can. Okay, that's 10 seconds. Then we're going up to 110% FTP. Okay, just lifting the effort a little bit. Stay relaxed. 30 seconds. Then we've got a 10-second nudge. Okay, get ready to accelerate. In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Just 10 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Good stuff. Yeah, so next says, get ergomed off. I'm just going to turn my fan on and open the door. Good stuff, guys. Okay. So it's got a few minutes now. So let's carry on with my chat. So one of the things I wanted to be really clear about, and how to make sure I explain properly, is one of the things that I'm doing is not following a weekly structure at all. So I'm not planning according to week. Essentially what I'm doing is I'm sort of figuring out the timeline of sessions that I want to do, and then, you know, flowing through that. So flowing across the weeks, and not trying to cover everything that I want to do in 1 week, because I don't want to get into this habit of chasing sessions. So I need to be very clear about this. What I am not doing is, if I can't do a session, just pushing it to the next week and playing catch up, because that doesn't work. I guess another way of describing it is essentially what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to cover what I would normally do in a week over 2 weeks. And as I say, what I'm basically doing is kind of getting the key sessions that I want to do. You know, I'd have this high intensity session, I want to do a couple of runs a week, the 4 weight sessions, you know, then I want to get another bike in, do low intensity, maybe another low intensity bike. So I'm sort of setting those up in the timeline, and then I'm just flowing through them rather than focusing on like, oh, I have to do a bike on Tuesday, oh no, I have to do that on Wednesday. You know, I'm just sort of working my way through them, changing the order when necessary, but you know, just making sure that I'm kind of getting through that rough order of sessions. And then, you know, if that all fits nicely into kind of a 2 week period, then just sort of popping in extra sessions that are just sort of very short, 30-45 minutes, low intensity, where necessary to plug the gaps. And this is all very fluid, and that's why I want to make sure I'm very clear in how I'm explaining it. Essentially, my mind isn't working in a weekly structure. I just know the timeline of sessions, the list, the sessions that I want to do, and I'm just doing them in order. So yeah. Right, just a couple more things that I want to talk about. Firstly, we've got some little accelerations to do. They're not sprints. Erg mode off. Okay. Just want you to kind of flow through the next sets, kind of freestyle. Okay. The way it's going to work is 45 seconds at zone 2, and then just 15 seconds accelerating. Don't overthink it. Just don't sprint. It's just like a hard acceleration. Ready to go in 3, 2, 1. So you can get out of the saddle and just put in a little bit of a nudge, and then sit down and just keep it at a very manageable level. So just basically enough so that you know you're working reasonably hard and waking the legs up. Start to tie my shoes up a bit. So we've done one, got 2 more to do. Okay, we're ready to go for round 2 in 3, 2, 1. Okay. So a few reps out the saddle and sit down. Just maintaining a nice high leg speed. Another few seconds, 2, 1, relax. Stop. Good job, guys. So 1 more to go, and then that's the end of the warm. Excuse me a second. Okay, last acceleration, 3, 2, 1. Four, 3, 2, and 1. Relax. So another reminder to get leg made off. Shoes going up tight now. So it's got just under 3 minutes. So wait now, let you concentrate, and then I'll finish off what I wanted to say in the first 5-minute recovery period. So guys, let's just remember what we're doing. Hopefully you know your 20-second powers, you know your all-time best, what your best is in the last 90 days, the last 30 days, and you just kind of, you know, keep them in mind. Don't think about it too much, just go for it. It's 20 seconds, so it's a full gas effort, no real thinking, no pacing, just go for it, and then just kind of use those numbers to help motivate you. So if you're way above your 30-day best, cool, you know, push for the 90-day best. You know, if you're really on a mega day, go for your all-time best, you know, or work the other way around if you're not on a great day, you know. This first one might not be the one, but hopefully with a nice long warm up that we've had, it should be. So I'm probably, because I'm not quite on going to be quite on the climb, and this is one, I think, something to bear in mind. So the first effort, I will probably only do at 80% of max as another kind of acceleration, but for the full 20 seconds, because I really want to be on the climb, so that there's some proper resistance under the trainer, because otherwise I'm just going to spin out. So if I'm not onto the climb within the next minute, that's how I'm going to approach it. It's just an FYI, you know, just little things to learn. It still means you're going to get 8 very good quality reps in, just like the first one's more of a sighter. It's always useful, I think, to do that with the first rep, so you can figure out your gearing as well. It's very easy to muff that up and then get angry because like the first 10 seconds you gave it everything and then depleted your phosphocreatine system, and then the second 10 seconds is just a mess because you muffed up the gearing. So it's always good, I think, to have kind of like a test rep. But if you're dialed in, ready to go, 25 seconds will be your chance to hit a new peak. Okay. I always at this point get asked about sprinting on the trainer. So I've got mine anchored, so you know, I'm out the saddle for a lot of it, but I usually tend to recommend 5 to 10 pedal strokes out the saddle before sitting down. So ready to go in 3, 2, 1, here we go. Halfway. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Good stuff. And it's good that I did that as a side rep actually, because my gearing was wrong and my shoes weren't tight enough. Now I know. So a lovely 5 minutes of recovery. Back in this jersey. It's too thick. Sorry, just in case you see me like fidgeting. This one kind of like our old style jerseys, and I wore it because it's quite cold today. But actually, it's not that breathable. Anyway, wearing your shoes. So yeah, the last thing I talked about was how I'm flowing the thing. I've got my kind of list of sessions that I want to do. I'm not trying to sandwich them into 1 week. I'm just laying them out in front of me. I've only got capacity for 1 session a day, but you know, you've got more kind of flexibility in there if you've got the capacity to do some double days in there. Yeah, so get my list, flowing through them, not worried about kind of stuff moving into the next week. I'm then shifting everything else back rather than trying to catch up. Okay, so for example, you know, my leg session, I had a little twinge in my knee, so I had to miss one, and so I'm on like the 4th leg session, leg session number 4 of 8, and then whereas my upper body stuff is, you know, week 5 or whatever. You know, I'm not trying to catch up on that, just like, you know, it will all happen in time. You know, no doubt I have to miss a chest session one day or something, you know, and it all tends to work out for itself. But then within that kind of stacking of sessions to do in order, I'm still working in 3 to 4 day cycles. And what I'm finding is that more than ever, this is a very natural cycle. So it's not even something I'm necessarily having to think about, but I'm just looking back at the last 4 weeks, and it's just naturally happened every 3 to 4 days. I've obviously felt a bit tired, unmotivated, and had a rest day, and then I've done another 3 or 4 days. And it really works with the structure that I talked about in terms of flowing through a stack of sessions. You know, I know the timeline, so I just work through in order, pop in recovery day, then the next sessions, if that makes sense. So one of the other things that I've learned from this, and it's kind of just an FYI, is that I'm going to put together a library of shorter sets, sessions that cater specifically for scenarios like mine. It'll take me a while to action because there's going to be a lot of catching up on Monday. But I will create a library of sessions and then figure out how to best utilise them for when people are under pressure. But I think you guys just taking you through this chat, the main goal of it is to signpost this stuff, so then we can start to apply it practically. But the last couple of things we'll talk about is more about sleep. Now, I'm not getting that much, or if I am, it's very staccato, very broken up. One of the things that we're doing is having family nap time every day. And it's absolutely glorious. I love it. It's my favourite thing. Just having us all in our bed, snoozing together. It's great. Obviously, I'm on paternity leave at the moment, so I don't restrict that nap time. But if I was working, I would stick to 30 minutes on a work day. Now, the next first thing you're going to say to me is, oh, I work in the office. So what I used to do as well as a lawyer, I just go hide in the toilets for 30 minutes. Honestly, I did it all the time. And I would just sit there with my eyes closed. You know, it'd be usually pretty dark because they want to save money. No stimulation. And just sit there. And it's more about mental rest napping rather than actually falling asleep. And I promise you, it really, really helps. I find that after a nap, the first 20 minutes, you feel groggy and you're like, oh God, that was a bad idea. But then after 20 minutes, you feel really good. So just remember that in the timeline. And then the final thing is, just wanted to signpost about creatine. Creatine, there's recent research that suggests it can mitigate the impact of sleep deprivation. Now, I have to be very clear. I saw that in a TikTok. Normally, I would then go into my own sort of research and dig out the paper and at least really read the synopsis. I haven't done that. So, but it's from a reputable source. So I will read up on that one and come back to you. Because we've got 3 seconds, and then we go again. Ten seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay. Relax. It's 2 down, 6 to go. So what I've just done there, guys, is I've just changed to terrain mode. I wasn't fixed. So my trainer was giving a perfectly constant resistance as if I was riding on a flat, perfectly flat terrain. But now I've got to the hill, I've changed it to terrain mode. And I'm hoping my third sprint is going to be my big one. I'm going to go for it. But yeah, so as I say, creatine, there's a lot of research recently about the cognitive benefits. I've spoken before about a study they did on elderly and the quite dramatic impact creatine had on their memory retention and cognitive skills. And then also I saw Stacey Sims. For anyone who doesn't follow her, I'd follow her and some of her podcasts and stuff. So she's kind of like the leading personality, shall we say. She's a very highly recommended, highly thought after academic, but I'd say her role is very much as a personality these days. So yeah, I saw her saying about a study that they did where they saw that creatine had really significant mitigating effects on sleep deprivation. I'm not going to say what it was because I won't lie, I was a bit skeptical the things that she was saying, which is why I'm being a bit over the top in saying that it's just a TikTok. So I do plan to have a look at the research proper, because whenever you get these kind of wild results, quite often then you find it's like the study pool was like 5 people or something, or they took like an insane amount of creatine. But I think it's a really interesting one, and I think it's just helpful if you're already taking creatine. It's just maybe a psychosomatic effect there. I think it has for me. I would say I would highly suspect that it is psychosomatic in my instance. But you know, I take it every day, and I'm very surprised at how capable cognitively I am at the moment. I mean, I haven't started back at work, so famous last words. And last night was okay. Previous 2 nights were not. So I was definitely not firing all cylinders the last couple of days. But thankfully I'm today, or somewhere near. So yeah, anyway, I'll kind of just run through all that stuff again towards the end. For now though, let's just relax. This is why this is why I also often generally prefer doing these sessions live, because then I'll complete my chat and then we've got these long recovery periods. So expect some nonsense as I try to fill the silences. Anyway, right, let's get properly focused for this next sprint. I wasn't ready for a previous one. We've got a minute to go. Just get a double check. Yeah, got it on terrain. So I'm going to go for this one. One of the good things about sprints is that freshness is super helpful. So I'm actually going out into this kind of expecting a bit out myself, you know. Definitely maybe not a PB, but there's no excuse for me not to get over 1,000 watts. for at least 5 seconds. So 20 seconds. So what I tend to do is in the 10 seconds before, I'll get my legs to be nice and high, and then in 10 seconds before, just start to shift down into a gear I think I can sprint off. Ready to go in 3, 2, 1, here we go. Ten seconds. 3, 2, 1. It's 9. So what happened there, you may experience this, because my trainer is, I think it's because my trainer is really old, when I switch between trainer modes, it basically goes into paralysis mode. So I was just spinning out there. So what I've done is I've shifted from Bluetooth to ANT+, and that seems to be the only way I can change between modes, then also have to change the form of connection. It's really frustrating. It's something I need to message Training Peaks about. Just in case anyone else experiences that, that's what I'm doing. So that's round 3 done. Maybe round 4, I'll be able to do my proper sprint. Oh well. I think that's the other thing, not on my list, but when you're in the state that I am, you have to kind of give yourself a bit of a break. I think normally, in a normal session, like I would be tearing my hair out right now, just like fucking technology. Always lets you down when you really need it to work. But because I'm not really pushing for anything, I know this period is just about survival. Yeah, I can just shrug it off a little bit more easily. It's got necessary sometimes. But if anyone needs some clarity on what I'm talking about when I talk about stacking sessions and flowing through them, we're keen to kind of go into the detail with each of you individually about how we would apply it in your case. But just kind of remember this chat the next time life gets a bit crazy for a sustained period. If it's a couple of days, that's just moving sessions around or whatever. But when it's a sustained period, you've got a project on, it's going to last a month or whatever, we can kind of get ahead of it. And that's always why this time of year is so important for planning. Not just fitting in holidays, training, etc. But if kind of life-wise, there's going to be some big events or some major challenges, we can build around them, and we can it can influence our event selection and things like that. For me, the biggest driver these days, rather than for a lot of you guys, and justifiably I would say, a big driver for kind of massive events is quite often if you want to go somewhere that sounds nice. You want to go race in Sardinia or something. For me, these days, my main driver is kind of fitting an event around life stuff, and that kind of largely dictates what I do these days. Particularly in the coming year. Anyway, right, so 1:20. Don't stress too much about the power target in the recovery. What you do want to do is, once you've got your breath back, you stop seeing stars, bring your cadence back up to 80 RPM, and then just feeding in the power steadily so you're roughly at the power target. That target is what are we at for that target? I think it's about 50% FTP. %55 of FTP. What you don't want to do basically is ride too easy, because the recovery period is so long. If you ride too easily for too long, you know, your legs switch off basically. So you do, once you've got your breath back, do force yourself to bring your legs back online. Thirty seconds, so shift back into the big ring, and hopefully I'll get a clean run this time. Just picking up my power a little bit, just so it's not such a big jump. Sometimes you can drop the chain and things like that when you go from sort of borderline freewheeling to sprinting. You want a little bit of power there. Ready to go in 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1. Here we go. Five, 3, 2, 1. Recover. Whew. So, get your breath back. Breath's back roughly, starting to pick up the cadence. Might mute a little bit. It's gonna really annoy me. Sorry, just bear with me 1 second. It's kind of a ridiculous little thing that that plays in my mind. Oh, I just noticed it paused there. Sorry about that. So if you're like slightly out of sync, it'll be because of me stopping. I didn't realise. I knew when you're in a free ride, when you get off, it pauses. But I didn't realise it paused the workout. Apologies about that. Anyway, so yeah, pick up leg speed and lift the power a little bit. Keep the legs running. What's up, guys? So we're halfway through, guys. There's 4 sprints to go. Now you will, even though we've had a big chunky recovery, you will start to see your numbers kind of drop off a fair bit. No stress. What we're trying to do with these reps is just try and build, to provoke some hypertrophy, some muscle mass building. And this is all with the idea that when we get to kind of the new year, we're then going to start to build in some repeatability. So basically maybe a similar number of reps, or more reps, but with less recovery and just working on fatigue resistance. So your ability to kind of go again when you're still hanging, sort of situation. Okay. Right, now we're all about just brute force. Now, it doesn't really matter what your focus is, your discipline. Just rebuilding some strength in all respects at this time of year is kind of the name of the game. You might see a lot of chat about building base mileage. It's miserable, don't be it. They get sucked into that. I saw quite a reputable coaching outfit talking about it last week, and I was like, these guys are super knowledgeable. It's just not, it doesn't work. If you live in California or in Spain or something, lovely, you can ride all year round. But in the UK, like, you have to take a more nuanced approach and realistic approach. So this time of year for me is all about rebuilding the strength you've lost. Because that base building, it's actually really easy to build. You know, just naturally as the weather improves, you want to get out more. So I don't really see the sense in flogging a dead horse and trying to force people out on 4 or 5 hour winter rides. You just hate it. Let's have a little bit of fun then. Right then. So 30 seconds. Then shift into the big ring again. Pick up my power touch, my leg speed. Get ready. Around 5. Okay, ready to go in 10 seconds. Three, 2, 1. Here we go. Ten seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Running out of road. So turn my little avatar tube down. Woo. Well done, guys. So there's 3 more efforts left. So I'll turn my avatar guy down around. So I'm going to go back down the hill. So I've got more road to sprint on. Well done, guys. So, get your breath back. Bring the cadence up again. FYI, kettlebell's another one. I normally put weight plates over the 2 little legs. Work much better. Feel the bike moving under me. Sort of hopping. Yeah. So this is FYI. Really recommend anchoring your trainer if you can. Particular sprint sessions. Just give you a little bit of confidence. So when I felt the bike move there, you know, I sort of missed half a pedal stroke and I was just chasing the numbers. Whereas normally, I was just being a bit lazy as I was setting up. I was like, oh, the kettlebells are just there, she's those. Weight plate, you want something on top of the legs. We'll just figure stuff out together. Maybe cognitively I'm not as sharp as I'm making myself out to be. So good stuff, guys. Just got 3 more efforts left and then we'll be done. So try and relax. So one thing's mentioned creatine. One of the things I will do is make sure I take some after the session. Obviously relying heavily on the phosphocreatine system. So we want to replenish those resources alongside normal protein. Protein muscle synthesis is elevated in half the days after a high session like high intensity. Let me start again. Muscle protein synthesis is elevated after a high intensity max power set like this. So getting the protein in straight away is a really good way to make benefit of that. So after this, your first thought should be protein. You're training like, essentially like powerlifters, like sprinters. So you will see, if you ever hang out at a running track, you'll see sprinters, they'll do like 1 rep they'll go put the trackies on to chill out for like what seems an eternity. I remember when I was doing some coaching qualifications and we were on a track at a performance centre, and they barely did anything, but the quality of their running was insane. Like, it was just beautiful to watch. Like, it's so great watching someone who's really good at something and doing it in training. I don't want to say inspiring because I'm not a wanker, but it's cool. So, really off topic now, but I am just trying to feel the silence. But like when people talk about Van der Poel coming back to cross, I'm actually a little bit, I'm not looking forward to it. Because he is amazing, but I'm kind of a bit bored of it really. You know, we've got some really competitive racing this year. I just want to see those guys smash it out. Because what normally happens is one person will go for Van der Poel and he'll like tow them along. And then, so the competition at the back just breaks up. And those guys are too wrecked to race each other properly. It's just all a bit disappointing, really. And people talk about him as being inspiring. So I think he's a fantastic. I actually love him. Absolute legend. I don't feel inspired by it. I actually kind of want him to leave cyclocross alone for a bit. Right then, so I'm turning my little doodah around, ready to go. In 3, 2, 1, here we go. Ten seconds. 4, 3, 2, and go. Oh, got a bit starry-eyed there. I'm not used to this stuff at the moment. Well done, guys. Just 2 more to go. Okay. Just be patient. Wait for the breath to come back. One thing you want to notice, I'm not drinking much. I stayed 5 minutes is probably good enough time. Have a couple of sips, but I made sure I was very hydrated for the session, and I'll rehydrate properly afterwards. We're trying to do it mid-session. It's just a real risk. It'll come back up. So we'll just get through this penultimate rep, couple of reps. Oh, done. Hopefully you got some lovely numbers. So I think one of the things to look at, obviously we're really keen on that 5 and 20-second power. But also have a look at each of the reps in turn, see how your numbers fluctuate. So normally, after probably the third one, we expect quite a big drop off. But what I would like to see is, there'll be a drop off, but it's not, it's relatively consistent thereafter, because you do have a lot of recovery. So we do expect a little bit of consistency. So there is a very small element of endurance involved. I also find that endurance is also important for the motivation. It's usually, I find doing 6 reps, perfect number. Like when I go out and do sprints on my mountain bike and stuff, there's one place that I do it, which is great. I can really hammer it. And I'm about 2 seconds off the KOM, which is driving me nuts. So I've got to wait till the summer again for that. But like, I'll get 6 reps done and I'll be like, could go home right now. So if you're feeling that, it's legit, but let's take these last 2 reps home, okay? So stay focused, because you think about a rep, the number of reps, quite often you know, it just comes down to who gives up first, particularly if you're crit racing. So much of that, that's the first like half an hour, is just try not to give up. And then what happens is that once you shed a load of people, it then calms down, because people then start thinking about the win and trying to do well, so nobody wants to be at the front. When it comes down to, you know, if you're doing, say, let's just imagine, you know, you've got 8 laps in that first 30 minutes. You know, 8 sprints essentially, usually up on a little incline. You've got to be able to do all 8 and really kind of stay in there. Because, as I say, 20-30 minutes of a crit. Arguably the same for a road race as well. It's just about staying in there and surviving, and just remembering everybody is in the same place, you know, and keeping your positioning, maybe giving yourself some sliding room, so moving towards the front. And you can roughly apply it to triathlon as well, particularly short course. You've got a whole load of laps. You've got all kinds of accelerations, dead turns and stuff. But the first kind of few pedal strokes, you will be anaerobic, getting back up to speed. So you think about you're doing that 8-10 times. Then, yeah, this stuff actually is remarkably applicable. Right, back into the big ring for me. Starting to shift down. Getting ready to go for the penultimate sprint. Okay, 5 seconds. 3, 2, 1, here we go. Ten. 5, 3, 2, 1. Well done. Good job, guys. Just one more to do. Whew. Good stuff, guys. Just got one last sprint. So I was saying about get your canes back up. Once you've got your canes, nice leg turnover. Then you can start to think about increasing the power. Stay within the gear first, so you can get somewhere near the power target in the same gear before dropping down. Well done, guys. Minutes. Okay, so we've got one last sprint now, guys. And what I'd really like you to do is kind of re-energize yourself, get your mind focused now. Let's really try and get back to those top end numbers if you can. Find sometimes you might just be knackered, which would be fair, but you find it quiet sometimes. Your body's incredible, your mind is incredible in that you would have known, right, 8 reps. Your mind will have subconsciously have paced your effort so you can do those reps. There's a really great book called, I think it's called Endurance by Mike Hutchinson, I think. But it talks all about how incredible your mind is at pacing. And so you may just find, yes, because it's a final rep, like the last 100 meters in a marathon. It's got a little bit of kick left in it. So really want you to try and see if that's there. Really go for it on this final rep, okay? Coming up to 90 seconds. Let's get down my avatar, do the rounds again. So I've got enough road for the final one. Okay, last minute then, to the final rep. Oh my god, final time. Right, build yourself up now, guys. Get your head up. Get a bit of power into the legs, so you've got something nice to sprint off rather than sprinting off. Essentially like a track stand. Let's go really hard for this final one, alright? So shifting down into a big heavy gear that you know you can drive off. Getting ready to go in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's go. Halfway. Five, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Relax. Do the shoes. Split back in your feet. And just spin up. Well done. Oh. Well done, guys. Oh man. Good with that. Spin out, guys. You can know the power target now, but do make sure you get your cadence up above 80 at some point, just so you can start to flush out the waste products in your legs. I want you to take a nice long 5-minute break now. Make sure you stretch, get the protein on, creatine as well if you partake. Yeah, and I'm just gonna, once I got my own breath back, just run very quickly for a summary of what we talked about, all of which is not actually common sense, but I think sometimes putting it into like a structured form can really help your mental shift. Because I think one of the things that I haven't perhaps stressed very much is how much you do have when you go through a period like I am. You know, there are so many analogous scenarios, like work going crazy, etc. You have to shift your mind. When work is going nuts, you have to compromise elsewhere in your life, okay? And training, you know, has to go within that as well. In the scheme of things, it won't matter if you've had to turn down the wick on the training for a week or two, okay? It really won't matter. What is important is that you stay moving and you look after your mental health, okay? Because that will impact you significantly and impact your ability to race, etc. So you have to turn down the wick when there isn't the capacity there to push. You have to shift your mindset away from trying to progress, so just trying to, you know, maintain and survive, you know. So for me, it's focusing on the weights at the moment, because that for me is fat free. I can do it in 30-40 minutes. Heart rate doesn't get crazy high, or if it does, it's for like a minute at a time. You know, it doesn't have to be strength training for you. It could be going out for a chilled run if you're a particularly good runner. Turbo, easy half an hour, whatever is super straightforward for you and easily to motivate yourself to do. But just changing your focus, even if it doesn't align, you know, I want to do more Xterra this year, just some more gravel. Yeah, doing 4 weight session a week doesn't align with that, but it keeps me moving, keeps me positive. And I know that if I do that, that when I do get time to train a bit more, I'm coming from a really strong place. And keeping all my sessions under an hour, unless I'm super lucky, just makes it all feel very manageable and easy to fit in, so I don't stress. Some of my sessions are just 30 minutes, and as long as I'm doing it with purpose and I'm enjoying it, that's a really good 30 minutes. Very little intensity. I just don't have the recovery capacity for high intensity sessions. So although I might get through the session okay, I'm then going to struggle to recover from it because I'm sleeping so badly. So keeping the low intensity, keeping the high intensity to a minimum, enough to kind of like make me feel like I'm training, but not enough so that it just adds to my woes. And then this concept of flow across the weeks, knowing which sessions I want to get done in their order. Doesn't have to be a strict order, you know, I might move them around a little bit, but knowing which sessions I want to get done, not necessarily worrying about the time frame. So not trying to compact it into a week, letting it flow over 2 weeks and just kind of shifting stuff back and kind of repeating that cycle. Dropping in a recovery day when needed, so every 3 or 4 days I'm naturally taking a recovery day, which is pleasing. To kind of bring some legitimacy to that approach. Napping, you know, just 30 minutes hiding in the toilets, or just going outside, just shutting your eyes for 30 minutes basically and removing any stimulation really helps. And then talked about very briefly about creatine and sort of some new research there about mitigating the impacts of sleep deprivation. I also mentioned that I'll be building a library of shorter kind of sessions that help to cater for these scenarios. So that'll take me some time to build, but you know, if you know that you're going to have periods like this, we can get ahead of it and just change that mindset early. But just remember, when you're sleep deprived, you cannot train the same way. It only ends up badly, basically. So yeah, guys, look after yourself. Hopefully you enjoyed that and me trying to fill the gaps. I generally thought my chat was going to last longer than it did. But yeah, have a lovely week, guys. Look after yourself. See you next time.